Hi, everyone. To those who are listening to this podcast, welcome back. We're kickstarting this series where me and my good friend Ishop, every week we review some good movies that we've seen and we just talk about what's coming up. Ishop, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely well. I must say, before we get into the movies that we've seen or the TV shows,
Hmm.
that compared to 2020, 2021
Hmm.
has been a much better, a significantly better year for movie freaks like us. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And the year started with that amazing German movie, Red Blood Sky, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So post that and everything, the entire year has been pretty good actually. 2020 was a bit of a drab. I wouldn't blame it. I mean, you had COVID and everything was halted, and we didn't really know. We didn't have much of content. But yes, I agree. I mean, 2021 has been a much better year, be it movies or TV shows. A lot of movies were parked as well to be released, so they've also come out. The Bond movie, the latest Bond movie. So yeah, exciting year, 2021.
Let me ask Ishop, have you been to theaters yet?
I haven't actually. I haven't yet been to a theater as yet. I am willing to. I am planning to, but as of now, I haven't. What about you? Have you recently?
I have. In fact, I have been to theater twice
Okay.
to watch James Bond, the new movie No Time to Die, and the Eternals
Okay.
movie as well.
Okay.
Honestly, it was I mean, after 2 years of being under lockdown, it was slightly an unnerving experience to be
Hmm.
sitting in a closed room with so many people,
Hmm.
and it was difficult to fathom. But
Hmm.
I was just glad that I could go watch movies on a full screen than watching on a TV or on my laptop. And
Yes. Yes. Yes.
absolutely say whatever you may be, the joy and thrill of watching something with other people and sharing everyone's joy or disappointment together is a different
Yeah.
experience altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different experience altogether, and something that you miss only when it's been taken away from you. I mean, all these years we just, weekends would mean either just waltzing into a cinema theater, to watch, whether it's one of our favorite movies or it's just, oh, chalo chalte hain, let's see what's there. So maybe we took it for granted, I don't know. But having been cooped into our homes for the last, well, at least 1.5 years, and still a lot of people being skeptical to go into a theater again, it's a whole different experience altogether, because theater going in itself is a whole different experience. Because when you go with your friends, you discuss the movie beforehand, you look at the background, even when you're walking into the theater, you're discussing it. In the intervals, you're discussing it, you're anticipating what the climax will hold for all of us. And then again, as you said, sharing the joy or disappointment with so many other people. It's a whole different experience than just sitting at home and glued to your screens.
Absolutely agree. Having said that, let's talk about the movies. So we're going to talk about a bunch of movies and TV shows today. In fact, about 8 to 10 of them. So, Ishop, you want to talk about The Crown, Impeachment, and The Voyeurs. And I've seen a bunch of TV shows and movies recently. I'm going to talk about No Time to
Hmm.
Die, The Eternals, Hawkeye,
Hmm.
the Korean sci-fi mythological drama thriller suspense series
Hmm.
Hellbound, Richard Jewell,
Hmm.
and the one that I see recently, I can't remember it, but I'll talk about it. So, Ishop, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah, so I have actually discovered, well, like you mentioned, I mean, I'm watching The Crown as well as The Voyeurs. There's a movie. The Crown is obviously the famous series based on the British royal family. They were out with the latest season, and it apparently features the Diana years. For all our viewers who are not the Crown fans, I would really suggest you to go and watch it from season one. It takes you through the decades after the World War has ended, and obviously in the 1947 years, British economy was in crumbles, etc. So every season comes up with different decades and different stories of how the British royal family is actually kind of maneuvered over the years and over the decades. And the latest season is what I'm currently watching. It's the Diana years, a brilliant, you know, uh, cinematography, beautiful storyline. It doesn't over dramatize, and yet at the same time, it doesn't stay too much into the facts of what actually transpired over those years. But that's what The Crown has always been. It has not over dramatized, but it's at the same time, it has not stuck too much into the script or too much into facts. Then Impeachment is something that I actually discovered by accident. I was looking at Disney Hotstar surfing for movies. Netflix was, I was getting a bit bored with Netflix, so I thought, hey, maybe just give it a shot. Let's see what's there on Hotstar. So that's when I actually stumbled upon Impeachment, and this riveting limited series talks about the famous Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky affair that took place in the early mid 90s. And the show moves to and fro from past and present, but it doesn't sway away like a lot of TV shows tend to do. Monica Lewinsky is not glorified, nor is Bill Clinton demonized. You see everything from exactly how it actually transpired. The principal characters are Linda Tripp, obviously the White House secretary, who introduced Monica Lewinsky, or rather offered her the job or the internship in the first place. Bill Clinton, again, as you progress through the show, you will realize how those events actually occurred, and the deep flaws in the political system of America, whether it be the Democrats or the Republicans, that unravels. So it's a beautiful, wonderfully made show that will keep you hooked onto your seats and your screens. So that is one show. The movie that I recently watched was a movie called The Voyeurs. Now it's a different storyline. It's a thriller movie about this couple who moves into a city. They've been waiting to be together for a very long time, and finally when they're together, life seems to be rosy and romantic. They go on adventures, they cook, they spend time together, go out and explore the city, only till they discover a couple right across the street whom they can actually see and view from their windows. And what initially starts as a oh hey, let's take a peek kind of a thing, catapults into something more sinister, which people will only realize once they see the movie. And it ends up being a thrill game of betrayal and cheating and disloyalty and a whole lot of other things between this young couple who just moved in to this new city and this suspicious looking couple right in front of them across the hall. So even though the movie is just taking place across, between two households across the street, something that looks extremely harmless and innocuous, but only as you watch the movie, it kind of keeps you on to the edge of your seats as to what exactly is happening. They get drawn into the sinister play of sex, betrayal, and a lot of other rather exciting stuff, which at the end does not turn out to be that exciting. So that people have to watch the movie to know. But these are the three things that have kept me kind of glued in the last 1 week or so.
All right, all right. That's great. So, I've seen a bunch of movies and TV
Hmm.
shows this year.
Hmm.
A lot of them are new and a lot of them are not that new. So I'll start. Recently, I saw the James Bond movie. Now, interestingly, the No Time to Die has come 6 years after Spectre. To
Hmm.
be honest, a lot of us, I think, had even forgotten that Daniel Craig still continues to play James Bond.
Hmm.
And for, I think, especially for me, since I knew that it was going to be Daniel Craig's last movie,
Hmm.
um, it is not more to do with watching how the James Bond franchise continues, but to see how Daniel Craig bows out
Hmm.
from the James Bond franchise, because I think he said that he wouldn't play the character anymore, and
Hmm.
I just wanted to see how they would kill off a character
Hmm.
in the James Bond in the fifth movie in Daniel
Universe.
Craig's in the Daniel Craig
Hmm.
universe of James Bond,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
unlike the previous Bond movies, correct me if I'm wrong, Ishop, the character of
Hmm.
James Bond was always, the mantle was always passed on from one actor to the other.
Hmm.
They never really showed the on-screen death of any of the characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So that's what it was. Now, talking about the movie, to be honest, it was quite disappointing. And it wasn't
Oh.
disappointing from the perspective of Daniel Craig, but more from what I expected. Uh, the journey of Daniel Craig to come to an end.
Hmm.
The villain was
Hmm.
not that compelling.
Hmm.
And let me just quickly find the name. He's a famous actor, Rami Malek. Okay.
Rami Malek, yeah.
Yeah. So, his motivation, his entire mechanism of what he wants to do. I mean, it looked grandeur in terms of scale, in terms of what a
Hmm.
typical James Bond villain would do, right? They would be in some
Hmm.
secluded, faraway
Hmm.
place. They would have a lot of
Yeah.
people working for them. But
Yeah.
excuse me, but this one to me particularly was a bit disappointing and not what I would expect. I thought that there would be a very tighter plot line,
Hmm.
but sadly it ends with apparently Daniel Craig getting killed on the
Hmm.
island that
Hmm.
that people are on, that he's on
Hmm.
actually, and it brings a close to each chapter. So in that sense, it's a good end to the saga of Daniel Craig as James Bond. I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
see who they pick as the next James Bond. Though in this movie, there were
Ah.
some hints that the
Hmm.
next James Bond will be a departure from what they had, a typical white male archetype, into a
Okay.
slightly more diverse character. But let's see
Hmm.
what the future holds. Okay,
Hmm.
then the other is Eternals. Now I'm a Marvel fanboy. I wouldn't deny that. But when
Hmm.
I watch a movie, I will, definitely not be swayed by the fact that how big of a fanboy I am.
Hmm.
I'll also try to look at a movie from the very portrayal of what it means for the characters and if it has a good enough convincing plot and a storyline.
Hmm.
This was Marvel's first attempt at doing a space-based universe, expanding the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the movie turned out to be disappointing. Not
Oh.
because of the fact that it wasn't done well. I mean, Chloe Zhao is an
Hmm.
Oscar-winning director. She's done
Hmm.
enough justice that she could.
Hmm.
However, I think they did give us a lot away in the trailers,
Hmm.
and that's not a typical Marvel fashion, but that is also the fact that this movie doesn't, it has a star packed cast, Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie,
Hmm.
and a lot
Hmm.
of other people. But since this was a completely new concept from Marvel, I think they went way beyond the scope, and that's also reflected in the duration of the movie. This movie is like 2.5 hours, which is not
Oh,
very
wow.
typical of Marvel, unless they're doing
Hmm.
something of a series end like an Avengers Infinity War or Endgame.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of story to tell, and I think they could have told it better, but it had so many characters. I think 10 plus central characters.
Wow.
And they also had that actor from Game of Thrones. uh,
Hmm.
what is his name, who will play the character of the Black Knight, who in the future, Kit Harington, right?
Okay.
Uh, and yeah, but overall, it was a good movie. It's a brave direction in which Marvel has taken. It's no longer this, kind of funny comedy movie, but it also, expands the scope of
Hmm.
the MCU is.
Ah.
Right.
Ah.
The next one is going to be a recent Korean uh, thriller series, sci-fi drama called Hellbound. Now, this comes
Hmm.
from, I think, the same director who made the Squid Games, and that
Hmm.
was undoubtedly Squid Games was undoubtedly was a fantastic watch.
Hmm.
I mean, the kind of story and the plot that Squid Game has. I mean, took
Hmm.
it to being the most seen show on the planet, and now I
Hmm.
see why is that. It was completely enthralling. Hellbound
Hmm.
is only a 6 episode series on Netflix and has a lot of promise. Till now,
Hmm.
we only have season one. I'm waiting for season two to come in.
Hmm.
I think the
Okay.
storyline like meandered a bit, wasn't very consistent. I couldn't just
Hmm.
believe a couple of things they were showing on screen, such as how would
Hmm.
God and the devil punish somebody for committing sins. But I think that's what they're holding
Hmm.
on for season two. The
Hmm.
other small complaint I had regarding this was the CGI of the monsters that was
Okay.
depicted. I mean, they had a
Hmm.
such big budget. I think that they could have done better. But nonetheless,
Hmm.
it's another compelling watch that has come from South Korea, and I think people must watch it.
Okay.
The other is a 2019 movie called Richard Jewell, which is
Yeah.
based on a
That's it.
real life story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's based on a real life story about the Centennial Park bombing that happened in Atlanta in 1999, if I'm correct.
96.
96,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 96. Yeah.
Yeah. And directed by Clint Eastwood. Wow, it also, from what I see, it also got an Academy Award nomination
Hmm.
for Best Actress. I think for Kathy Bates.
Okay.
Again, a fantastic movie. It just goes on to tell you that how the criminal justice system works in the
Hmm.
US, and how this man got framed. But thankfully, the story
Hmm.
has a redemption arc. At the end, we come to
Hmm.
know that the central protagonist was, innocent, and thankfully there is
Hmm.
some sort of closure in that.
Okay. Hmm.
Interestingly, this movie was also produced by Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill. Fun fact.
Oh.
So
Oh.
it stars Sam Rockwell, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde, uh,
Oh.
and it's absolutely fantastic movie. Must watch. It's on Netflix, if I'm correct. Um,
Yes. Yes. It's on Netflix. Yes.
Again, a fantastic this thing. Then the last, I think, series I'll talk about is a recently dropped Hawkeye series. As a
Oh.
character, which dropped this week, as a
Hmm.
character, Hawkeye is not taken that seriously because he's a simple man who doesn't have any powers.
Oh.
But unlike Black Widow, who got a movie because of her character arc in Avengers Endgame, where
Oh.
sacrificed
Okay.
herself. He gets a TV show.
Okay.
He gets a 6 episode
Hmm.
streaming
Hmm.
series on Netflix.
Hmm. Hmm.
Quite compelling, to be honest. They dropped 2 episodes on one day, so it's sort of like watching a movie. Um, but it's quite compelling. It sets up so many different plot lines for, I
Ah.
would say, the non-superpowered people in the MCU universe, the people who don't have any powers.
I
This
see. I see.
also this stars Vera Farmiga, Haley Atwell, Jeremy Renner, Tony Dalton, and completely star-packed cast.
Hmm. Hmm.
And absolutely fantastic to watch. The Haley Steinfeld, Jeremy Renner's chemistry on screen is amazing, as the mentor
Hmm.
mentee relationship. And yeah, I mean, absolutely fun. This is going to be a Christmas special. The last
Oh.
episode is going to drop around 24th or 25th.
Ah.
And then the new Spider-Man movie comes into play in the theaters.
Okay.
So yeah, that's mostly mostly other some of those. I've seen a bunch more. I've seen a bunch of movies, Malayalam movies, hovering around the genre of sci-fi, mystery, thriller,
Oh.
which are absolutely fantastic. I'm not able to recollect the
Okay.
names. My apologies. But yeah, that's
Okay.
one genre that I got exposed to, and yes, it's been quite addictive, I must say. And a lot of these good movies on Prime Video, so I would highly recommend people to go ahead and check it out. So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
that's all that I've seen so far that I can recollect. Okay, now we come to what are we waiting for next. So Ishop, go ahead.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm actually. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, there have been some good trailers. I mean, I often keep surfing on YouTube as to what exactly do we have in store in the coming months. So I'm actually interested in one of. Oh, I mean, I'm interested in a few. But the first one I would like to talk about is this movie called Bob Bishas. Now, this is a spin-off of one of the characters from the 2012 movie Kahani. Now, if you remember, Bob Bishwas was a contract killer.
Awesome.
Now,
Mm.
yes, so he's a contract killer, and that's this movie is apparently a spin-off of that particular character. Abhishek Bachchan plays Bob Bishwas. Now, it will be interesting to see Abhishek Bachchan how he kind of gets into the skin of this role. He's gained about like 20 kgs, at least that's what he said, and he's a good, capable actor. I mean, he's done some fantastic work in recent times, and so that is one movie. And the trailer looked, I mean, literally like I mean, at least the trailer was like completely, blowed my mind. I mean, I think so. That is one movie I'm looking forward to. The other is also another Indian movie which is coming out this December, which is called Uncoupled, if I'm not mistaken. And it's called R. Madhavan. It's about this dysfunctional Indian couple who are facing some sort of a midlife crisis. They have a 10, 11-year-old daughter. But more importantly, it's about how they rediscover life and how this urban couple and how we often, glorify marriages in the first place. And then, so they kind of head towards what seems like a dead end. And they kind of try to recuperate and reconcile, and all that takes place in troubled marriages, or rather even marriages where you have these little conflicts by the time you reach or complete 7 years or 10 years of being together. So that is one movie, and the trailer looked very interesting. Again, our viewers should definitely go and watch it on YouTube. So R. Madhavan is somebody I have a lot of respect for, and like I've enjoyed his body of work over the years. So those are two of the movies that I'm waiting for in coming times. What about you?
Right. The first movie I'm talking about is Don't Look Up. It
Oh,
stars.
okay, yes. Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes. Satirical science
Yes.
fiction black comedy, as said on Wikipedia. Directed by Adam McKay.
Okay.
And
Cool.
holy cow, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, holy shit, they literally got
Yeah, there's
every
Meryl
single,
Streep as well.
literally got
Jonah
every
Hill, Meryl
single
Streep.
A-lister in Hollywood to do this movie. I mean,
I know.
it's called Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill,
Yes.
Timothy
Meryl
Chalamet,
Streep.
Ron Perlman, Ariana Grande, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, Chris Evans. I mean, the cast, if you read on
Surprised.
Wikipedia.
I'm surprised they didn't rope in Samuel L. Jackson.
Who knows? He might have a cameo. He's never.
Who knows? Yes, who knows?
But yeah, I mean, the trailer looks. The movie is apparently based on a real life story, and it's coming to Netflix. It has a theatrical release on December 10th, and it comes to Netflix on December 24th. So not that huge of a difference. So people can watch it on Netflix. But this one movie I'm really, really looking forward to. Now, coming towards the Marvel side, I'm really looking forward to the Spider-Man No Way Home. Just because of the fact that it's going to feature Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield reprising the roles of Spider-Man from their respective universe, and that is what I want to see. It also stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. And that is one dynamic I want to see, how these three actors, Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield, how is the dynamic on screen. And I'm really looking forward to Tobey Maguire specifically reprise his role, maybe hopefully not for the one last time as Spider-Man. There's been a lot of hype around this particular movie simply because of the trailers that Marvel has so carefully edited out any appearances of to Spider-Man. There's a lot of speculation. Just have a month to go for the movie to come out, but it's going to be an amazing experience. It also has Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, Tom Hardy, Alfred Molina reprising his role as Doc Ock, J.K. Simmons. So yeah, a lot of famous faces, and that's what I look forward to. Yeah.
Cool.
So these are the two movies that come to my mind. There are so many others that I can't think of right now, but Bob Biswas is. I rarely, just like you, I rarely pick or watch any Bollywood movies. But Bob Biswas is something that I'm really, really looking forward to. I think it's been a while that Abhishek Bachchan has done, I would say, any memorable movie, right? If I'm
True. Yeah. True. I mean, with somebody like Abhishek Bachchan, with someone with so much caliber and talent, I think is not got the due. The due that he deserves in Bollywood as yet. I mean, you have to cherry pick some. You have to think of So there was Guru in 2006, and then post that there have been a couple of good, good roles and good, stuff that he's done, but he's equally disappointed. I was totally disappointed with, Big Bull. It was completely, maybe because the Scam 92 came beforehand, but it was just pathetic, and it was discardable almost. so to speak. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's high time that Abhishek Bachchan comes up with something that people will cherish for a long time, something like he did in Guru in 2006. And for somebody of his caliber and acting prowess, I still believe he's got a lot to deliver. And so yeah, looking forward to Bob Biswas, and I hope he does justice to this iconic role that has almost had a cult figure in the last 10 or 9 years, I think, since Kahani came out.
That's right. I think with Abhishek, the challenge is, I think, is not picked scripts that are good enough and that could
True,
show
true,
his caliber as an actor. I think he is a great
true.
actor.
Hmm.
He's one of those guys who can play a variety of roles really well, and I think especially the serious kind of roles suit him really
Yes,
well. I'm
yes.
excited to see, honestly, to see him pick up a challenge and undergo this
Hmm.
transformation to portray this
Hmm.
actor, to portray this role.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, all right, so that's all the movies that we're waiting for. We've seen that we liked. Now
Hmm.
we come to a segment where we talk about the movies that we saw and did not like at all.
Yes.
So, Ishop, do you
Yeah.
have anything on your list that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have. I have actually, and I really want to talk about it. So recently, like I said, like we discussed, at the beginning of this podcast, that there were a lot of movies that were parked to be released. Productions either got halted because of COVID and everything, and they were waiting to be released. One of the movies that released this year was obviously The Conjuring Part 3. The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, this is one movie that I was very, very excited, and being an avid horror fan, I'm literally, I mean, I'm always waiting for a good horror movie or a TV show to come up. But so I did watch Conjuring 3, and I paid like $500 on Google Play Store to buy to rent out that movie because it's not available anywhere at the moment in India. And I was thoroughly disappointed, purely because I don't think the directors or the writers of the movies, at least from this universe, have anything new to show. I mean, it's the same old tropes where you have some sort of satanic cult or some object at the basement of a house, and it involves the same pathetic charades of exorcism and somebody getting possessed. The I mean, and then some sort of backstory, some child gets possessed. And even the horror tropes, they are the same. You'll have eerie silence, and that's when you would realize that there is going to be either a jump scare or some sort of a ghost appearance or apparition. So it almost becomes predictable. So there was no story at all. The story could have been made much better if this was some sort of a werewolf or mixed, fused with some sort of satanic cult that was happening. There was murder, and at the end it was a drastic ending. So obviously there was no exorcism, at least thankfully this time, but it was a very abrupt ending, and that had no such sort of sense whatsoever. The movie was dragged for 2.5 hours long. The horror scenes were absolutely, they were dry, and they were very dull, to be honest. And this is one movie that I was waiting for with such anticipation, and it completely kind of shocked me to be seeing this. There was nothing new, as I said, the directors. Now, there was another show called The Haunting of Bly Manor that came out last year. That kind of read. Now, this is another reason why I'm becoming slowly a big fan of Mike Flanagan, because every year he comes out with something very new that adds something new to the horror genre. Because let's be honest, we are all getting very tired. We live in an age where everything is at the click of our fingers. We can watch everything literally, whether it's on YouTube or any other thing. We are tired of the same old ghost appearances and ugly looking demons attacking people and possessions. And so it's time that directors kind of think new. And this is where I think people like Mike Flanagan are doing very well, because even in Bly Manor, it was not the typical ghost sightings and people killing and choking each other, or somebody getting possessed and flying across the room or breaking glasses. There was a story behind it. There was a beautifully written script, and the actors did justice and brought out those roles perfectly. Here it was nothing like that. So Conjuring 3, thoroughly disappointed. There is no way you can give a 0 star, but so that's why I'm sticking with something like 0.5. It was really bad. What about you?
Right. Recently I saw this movie called The Red Notice, starring Ryan
Ah,
Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot. Again, I mean, from the trailers, I didn't expect much out of it. And Dwayne Johnson is literally in every other movie and TV series these days. I mean,
Hmm.
he's I don't know how many movies does he do every year, like 100, 200. He like shoots a movie every day or something like that. Um, but yeah, again, I think Ryan Reynolds does the same kind of comedic roles
Hmm.
repeatedly again and again and again and again.
Hmm.
The same Deadpool vibe that he carries
Hmm.
from Deadpool movies, he takes in all the other
Hmm.
movies. He also did this comic
Hmm.
book slash video game adaptation of a movie. I can't recollect the name, my bad. Which is
Hmm.
also on Netflix. It
Hmm.
was funny in bits, but it wasn't that engaging. So yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I wish that when people write comedy movies,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
genuinely funny, where the actors are not trying to do over the top slapstick comedy or situational comedy, but I mean the jokes need to be actually funny. And this one was quite disappointing. I mean, I wouldn't watch the movie again unless I had nothing else to watch on Netflix.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
so these are a couple of things that I found really really disappointing. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's all.
Cool. Cool.
Great. Anything
Hmm.
else, Ishop, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I mean, just to add to what you were saying, I mean, with the comedy roles, whether it's Ryan Reynolds or Adam Sandler, I mean, can you even recall the last comedy movie that you watched of Adam Sandler? I mean, it's been what, 9, 10 years since Just Go With It came out. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think what you were saying is the same thing, that people are just writing the same thing. There's no kind of innovation, whether it's, I mean, not even innovation, just something different. But unfortunately, whether it's Ryan Reynolds or whether it's Adam Sandler, they're dishing out the same storylines, the same kind of slapstick comedy, the same sort of dialogues every year. I mean, come on. I mean, sex jokes or, or any kind of crass, offensive jokes are not funny anymore because they are so repetitive. They're literally in every other movie. So, think of something nice. There is a show called, I think it's, I'm forgetting the name, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if I'm not, yes, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Then there's another show called Superstore. Brilliant comedy, none of those slapstick comedy, comedy dialogues or scripts that you see in movies. So I think, yeah, as you know, as I said, even in horror genres, people need to rediscover itself, especially in today's changing day and age, where literally every day, there's something new. So to keep your audience hooked and engaging, you need to bring out some stuff that is different from what you probably did even maybe 6 months ago or 1 year ago, and that is something that is not happening.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think directors and writers need to be more creative in what they are
Yep.
writing. And because I mean, honestly, right now there is so much competition on Netflix and other streaming platforms to
Hmm.
capture the user's
True.
attention. And if you were to
True.
look at the way how the South Korean series have
Yeah.
broken out to gain
Yeah.
such cult following, I think there's a lot more opportunity for people to discover that there's a world
Hmm.
beyond the same old comedy horror genres,
True.
or even action movie genres. So I think
True.
actors and directors could do a lot more.
Very,
Uh,
very
Great. So that concludes this week podcast. Next week we'll be back with some more
cool.
movies, TV shows, reviews, what we think of the Hollywood, Bollywood, and any other wood industry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ishop, thank you so much for your time. And we'll
Cool.
see you in the
Cheers.
next one.
Take care,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.